Okay, points to read my mind. What's my first thought? Hands up. What is my first thought? Hands up. Okay, if you have your hand raised, give yourself a point. Put your hands back down. Everybody look at me. Everybody look. Grab your golden notes, second sheet. Grab the golden notes, second sheet. Okay, 3/4 of that sheet is devoted to helping you overcome what you just felt. Okay, because when I asked the room, like, what's my first thought? Only 3 people raised their hand. I need everyone to raise their hand. When I read this problem, I have absolutely no question whatsoever as to what I'm supposed to do. But you all have a question because you're just not familiar with the language yet. So that second sheet is to help you get more familiar with the language. I'm looking at this portion of the sheet. Hold on. I'm looking at all these examples. Sassy example 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? They give a lot of different examples of wording that is used on the AP test, but the wording always results in the same thing. They end up asking you to find the solution to a differential equation. Look back here. You've just got to memorize the wording. Which of the following is a solution to the differential equation? Okay, when you see this equation, your brain should be saying, that belongs in the rate column. That's the equation I would use to find the slope or the rate of change of some function. Question. But then you should also be thinking that that means there is a formula that belongs over here in the amount column. This formula over here, which could be y equals something, or maybe we'd call it f of x equals something. That's the solution to a differential equation. Mr. Rector will correct me if I'm wrong, but the reason they call it a solution to the equation is this. Please raise your hand. Don't overthink it. If you know the solution to that equation. Hands up. What is the solution to that equation? Sam? X equals 2. How many knew it? Point. Okay, now listen carefully. Hey, look. Most people don't think of this. Listen carefully. The reason x equals 2 is the solution is because if you plug the solution back into the equation becomes a true statement. Why I'm always emphasizing the equal sign. Well, look up here. If you could find this equation and you plugged it into this equation, that would become a true statement. That's why it's called the solution to the differential equation. You're looking for this equation. And that golden note sheet is just showing a lot of different ways in which they're going to ask the same question. Okay, so differential equation, to solve it, I have to use the Sassy method. So let's do that. Questions? So I separate. You always multiply the dx across. You've got to move the y to the left because that's an output variable. So I'll end up with this. And if this is the AP test, I'm a little bit grumpy because I'm like, you dirty rats. You gave me a stupid Sassy problem in the multiple choice. In the FRQ, it would be worth 5 points. Here it's worth 1 measly point. Well, 1.2.
Is the output variable always the one on the top?
Yes, please memorize. Hey, for our class, it's always d of the output divided by d of the input. Always. Always. Just have to memorize it. It matches what you learned long ago. Rise over run. The vertical axis is considered the output axis, horizontal the input axis. So everybody on the video, show my hands, so that was very unhelpful. Questions? Cool. Now I do an antiderivative of both sides. Questions? Hands up, what do I do next? There we go. What comes next? Go, Christine?
You're going to plug in the values it gives you for X and Y to find speed.
So tell me exactly what to write, Christine.
So you're going to put negative 2 squared over 2 equals b cubed plus
Okay, raise your hand if you knew it. Point two for Christine. Question? So let's see, that's 4 divided by 2 is 2. 27 divided by 3 is 9. So C has a value of negative 7. Now I go back to here, take this equation, y squared over 2 is equal to x cubed over 3. Subtract 7. Now I need to isolate, so we multiply both sides by 2. Take the square root of both sides. When you apply the square root operator, you must consider that it could be the positive or negative root. Okay, questions? So I can immediately narrow down to 2 possible answers. Raise your hand if you know which 2 are the possible answers. Let me think with me, don't just watch. There we go. Let's go Melissa in the back. So D is definitely a possibility, because if I simply distribute the 2, I'm going to get 2x cubed over 3, subtract 14. How many knew that one? Point. The other possibility is Z. I need to know how to figure out which one is the correct answer.
Wouldn't that be because the y has to be negative instead of get negative number square roots and then multiply by 2?
No, it's perfect. So, if I were to plug in a 3, 3 cubed is 27. 27 divided by 3 would be 9. 9 times 2 is 18, minus 14 is 4. Square root of 4 is either a positive 2 or a negative 2. I need the negative 2. So as Kayla said, point for Kayla. There we go. If Sassy bothers you, just be persistent. I've had a lot of students over many years start out just really a little bit frustrated, but then with just a little persistence, they're like, hey, I love these. I know I'm getting points on these problems. Because they're not usually trying to fool you. They just need to see you do it. It's not a trick. It's not a puzzle. So just do the work. Please.
Where can we stop on the FRQ section?
Gotcha. FRQ, you didn't have to do this, you know how I distributed here?
Yeah.
That's not necessary on FRQ. You do have to go to the point that you recognize that the answer is just the negative. So FRQ, I probably would have written this as my final answer. Like that. Point. Anybody else? Okay.